Have you found yourself wondering, is there something more? If so, then you, my friend, are a dreamer in waiting. I'd like to welcome you to the Dream On podcast. I'm Julia Gentry, and along with my husband, Travis Gentry, we discuss real, raw, and not small talk conversations about faith, family, entrepreneurship, and all the things that matter most in this life in order to help people bridge the gap between what they currently have and what they really want most. Join us as we give you insights, tools, and strategy to chase every dream that's on the inside of you. But be forewarned, this podcast is not for the faint of heart, but rather those of heart. This is the Dream On podcast.
We are live in our home gym, in the garage.
I mean, there's just no better place to work out.
No.
For you, I actually, let's be honest, I don't like working out in my gym.
In your gym?
In our gym, in our garage. I prefer an actual gym.
I love working out in our home gym.
I
wish I had a few more pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
And I do like going to the gym when it's not busy.
Yeah.
I like the old school, like
Grungy.
dungeon, grungy, like let's go and work out and get it. And
Yes.
not, I don't need to, the salons and all that kind of
The
stuff.
mirrors on all sides so you can check yourself out everywhere you
Yeah,
go.
no, that's not mine. So anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Whether you're watching us, that's where we're at. That's or you're listening to us.
Yeah. We're in our own home gym in the garage.
Thank you. So what's the title of this podcast?
Oh, I love it. When you know better, do better, which was stimulated from the Maya Angelou quote that I love, which says, when you do the best that you can until you know better, and then when you know better, do better. And so we're going to talk about that today, and I just want to caution people, for myself included, and I think you and I have over the years trained ourselves, right? Because we know that the minute we start asking questions, we're going to be responsible for the answers that we're going to find. So it's like, be careful what you wish for, be careful the answers that you look for, because there is this whole idea that when you know better, you're going to need to do better, right?
Well, and yes, and I don't think a lot of people, you struggle with that.
Agreed.
I mean, and we have too. So we'll give examples of in our own personal life, but just because you know it doesn't mean you do it.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I want to caution people with this podcast, because I said we've trained ourselves to kind of think this way.
Yeah, so now it irritates us if we don't do better. So once we know better, we're like, dang it, okay, awesome, let's do this. But I think unless you're consciously aware of that,
Yes.
you get new information, and we'll kind of talk about that too.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
we're in the information age,
Yes.
but it's almost like the information overload age.
Yes.
So we have so much information out there. Now there's inaction with the information that we have, because you're like deciphering, and depending on what you're looking at, you can see 2 or 3 different perspectives on one thing.
Okay, so even if we unpack that, so let's talk about the information age. Basically what we're meaning is that you can get online and Google any question that you have, and there will be pages upon pages upon pages of answers. I mean, how to make more
Or
money.
perspectives.
Yes. How to lose weight, best places to live, how to have more passion in a marriage, how to be healthier. I mean, it doesn't matter, almost any question that you could pose, right? It's going to have pages and pages and pages upon results. And the problem is, it's almost like we're Googling more, but we know less. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much information that now it's like,
I don't know about know less, you just do less. Because it's
Fair.
almost analysis of paralysis. Now I have too much information.
And
Like
now
if you're standing there and you look at 4 different paths, and you're like, okay, per the information I know now, I could go down all these paths. And as opposed to like starting to walk down one to see, you just don't act on any of them.
which, if I could use the word no, if I could italicize the word no, that's what I mean. Cognitively, we know a lot, but we know less. Like we're falling prey to what everybody else is doing, and all the suggestions and all the input and all the Google search terms that now I personally italicized know less. Right? I'm losing my own voice, because now I'm listening to all these other voices and all these other opinions and all these other ways to do things, which in theory are there to help. but now I'm losing my own voice, which means I'm doing less.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that today. Okay, grab a cup of coffee and buckle up, baby. How's that weather?
Yeah. So where's that shown up in your life? Like, give an example where it's almost like from, consciously incompetent to consciously competent, where you know something, but then give an example of like health and nutrition is kind of an easy one, because you can look at from working out.
Yep.
There's so many different styles and ways to work out. And with the workout, it's coupled with food and nutrition. There's so many ways to eat, to not to eat, to take supplements, to not take supplements, to fasting, to not fast, like
there's
all these things.
Totally. Okay, so my example and why we're doing this at the gym is because we're going to really talk about some principles today. One that I wrote about in the book, but was established in one conversation that we had in the RV, which was the lifting till failure, right? And I remember when I was trying to gain more muscle tone, that I wasn't even willing to Google how to do it. And I think because we were onto ourselves even a couple years ago back then, I wasn't even really willing to Google how to change up what was happening because I wasn't getting any results. I was running harder, I was cycling faster, I was lifting more weights quicker. I was just doing more of what I'd already been trying to do.
Yeah.
And I remember when I walked in and I was just venting, I didn't really want your input. I was just venting because it meant if I Googled it and if I asked you your input, I think I consciously and unconsciously knew that you're going to give me an answer that's going to ruffle my feathers. I'm going to have to do something, right? I'm going to know better, so I'm going to have to do something different. I can't control it. I have to try something new. I have to lift heavier weights, which quite honestly makes me uncomfortable.
I don't know if you did. I don't know if you consciously knew.
So I think
that you were like, it's almost like sometimes you don't even know the right question to ask. You're like, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, and if I do more, I'll get more. I
think though I was so afraid of being wrong, right? And then feeling so weak, for lack of better words, a new way, right? I catch myself in this habit, right? The minute that I start to feel like I'm doing something wrong, and then it imposes that if I start changing a way, I'm not going to be good at doing it. I find that that's a real slippery slope for me. And so I will even avoid the answer, the truth, like the thing. Like
but that's so different. That's so interesting because we've talked about this so many times. The fact of not asking as opposed to saying, like, I'm going to do more of what I'm doing to get the result, as opposed to when I made that comment of, are you lifting until failure? Your interpretation is you're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing it wrong. Yeah. Had nothing to do with like, oh, great information.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not lifting until failure because the results that you wanted. Yep. You're not looking to do like triathlon or Ironman, so you need the endurance. So you're not necessarily looking to go to failure. Totally. You're looking to build muscle.
Yes.
So you were doing more reps at a lower weight, as opposed to saying, no, I want to build muscle.
Totally.
So I'm going to shift that.
But I think this is what happens in this process of like I have to know better, right? It says, do the best that you can until you know better, which implies there's always going to be a better. This is why I love her quote, if you really take it and piece it apart. Do the best that you can in a spirit of excellence. Do the best that you can until you know better, which is about progress and growth and going to the next level, right? Like there's always more for growth. And we have people ask us that all the time. When are you guys going to be done? And we're like, never. Like, because then that would imply we're not growing, right?
What does that mean?
We're never done growing. I'm never done learning. We're never done trying. Like, we're never going to be done. So it implies that until you know better, then when you know better, do better. But here's where I think that this could happen is that if I start to know better, it implies that everything that I've been doing, I'm not saying this is accurate, but implies it's been wrong. Because if I know something different, I'm going to have to do something different, which totally means that maybe I'm doing everything wrong. And then it implies now there's accountability. Now you're going to have to do better. And that implies accountability. And that's quote unquote hard, right? I even remember when you asked me, Julia, are you lifting till failure? And I could see myself at the gym looking at myself in the mirror going, no, because that would imply that like that hurts.
Which is so interesting because I love that.
I know.
I like when it's like I can't get any more. Like I'm not looking to like pick up a weight and do a bunch of reps, put it down and be like, yep, I want to see.
And I like high intensity. So I've been getting my intensity burn, right? Like I love the intensity, but when it comes to a focused attention, I could look almost the minute you said that, like my life of working out flashed before my eyes because that was not the way I was approaching it. And it didn't mean it was wrong, right? I'm still getting a good workout. It's still good for my heart. I still have a fine physique, all the things. But I knew that what got me to where I am wasn't going to get me to where I needed to be, which means I was going to have to go back to the gym, do things differently, lift till failure at a different way.
Which is in all areas of your life.
Every area. So this is
like
also not...
Like we're just talking about fitness.
We're talking about fitness. I'm turning this off right now. We are not going to be talking about fitness any longer. We are going to be taking this concept and putting it in every area of your life.
And this is a concept for us. Yes. We've developed that habit and that practice. And yes, I think we've said it before, it's like the truth will piss you off before it sets you free. So yes, when you have new information and you feel like I'm, all the emotions behind I'm wrong and I'm stupid or whatever it is, like I'm not good enough or because you were doing it wrong with new information. And I get that. I mean, I think that there's so many areas, whether it's finances or relationship or when you feel like you've been doing something wrong and practicing something that hasn't gotten you the results.
Yes.
Yeah, there's emotion behind it as opposed to taking it as feedback and information and saying, great, now I can be better at this.
Yes.
Now I can do something and have a better relationship.
Yep.
Now I can have, figure out my finances as opposed to hiding from it and fix the holes as opposed to like...
So let me ask you this, because I heard you say this the other day and I don't remember who you were talking to, but you had made a comment. It was someone that wanted to, I don't even remember what it was, but they had basically said like, well, Travis, I don't know how to do that. And you said, your comment to them was, I say this with as much love as possible, but did you know how to wipe your butt when you were a kid? No, you learned, right? Mm-hmm. Did you know how to ride a bike when you were 3 or 4 or 5? No. What did you do? You learned, right? Like, and what you were trying to do is to dumb down something that was so like, of course I wipe my butt, right? Of course I ride my bike now. But you were taking them back to this, like, you learned it.
Yeah.
So in those moments when you go, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that moment that feels hard, it could be that opportunity to lift till failure. Like, what is that barrier?
What is the barrier?
Yeah,
or
what is the barrier for people? Because they could Google it. Right now we're in the information age. I could Google how to lose money, how to make more money, how to have more passion in my marriage. Like again, almost any question we could Google to find an answer. Yeah. There's probably 1 million books written about the topic. The Bible probably has loads of information and different things, right? There's counselors, therapists, all the different things, right?
Do them all.
Do them all.
Just get it
but you know
all.
what I'm saying? So for the person that right now that's like, yeah, but Travis, I don't know how to start a business. I don't know how to connect in a conversation with my wife. I don't know, like when we're taking this to other parts of our lives, what is that space? Like, if we were sitting here 100 years ago without all the information that we have today, maybe fair. But what is that space? What's happening potentially?
I think it's understanding your like beliefs.
Yeah. Like
your deep-rooted beliefs. So you're not taking action or seeking the biggest shifts that we've had in our life, and we're on this, journey and path right now to seek out mentors, even in our lives. Yep. If you don't have a mentor in your life that has the results and the fruit of whatever it is, like they can exponentially help you speed up that learning curve and get you the results that you want. Like you can, yes, I think that there's certain things that you can Google it and you can YouTube it and you're self-sufficient and you can figure it out. But if you have someone that can come alongside you and guide you and point out all the things that you can't see because you're in the midst of it, and they have the fruit, and you don't make it mean anything about you.
Well, I think that's what you just hit on the belief thing, right? So, because now we're getting into tactics of what's one thing that you could do. But I think that there is something there about what keeps us from getting clear. Mm-hmm. Right? Like when I think about even to that point, right? Of like, why would I not have, before I decided to gain muscle tone, right? Before I spent 3 or 4 months exhausting myself, right? Like running the track harder, doing all the things before I even started. What stopped me from just going, okay, I'm going to ask Travis because he's got a dope body. So I'm going to ask him what he does, his mindset. I'm going to Google it, right? I'm going to Google even skinny girl gets more muscle tone, right? Because I got to figure out more body tones that are similar to mine. I could get like line up all of the things in my favor to get the results that I want. Like, why did I not even do that? Like, why don't we stack the cards in our favor?
And that's where, if you start to break down, okay, why am I not?
Yeah.
So what is the belief behind why would I not make a phone call, send someone an email saying I need help, I need a coach, a mentor, or asking someone that you already know?
Yeah. Like call your own bluff, like figure out
what is, like it's amazing. Sometimes you'll have friends that have the fruit in their life that you want and you don't ask them.
Totally.
Like they're the last person you ask.
Yes, because you feel
stupid, incompetent. I should know this already.
I should know this. Or now they're going to know that I don't know what I'm doing and then they won't want to be friends with me, right? Or they'll judge me because they know more than I do in this area. And that's
what, I mean, that's the silliest thing, because the biggest, like someone asking you, if you know something.
Yes.
And someone asking you.
It's like the biggest compliment.
Yeah, it's like awesome. Most people are open, like, I'd love to share with you how I do what I do. Like, I've been waiting for someone to ask, like I have the information. Yeah. For sure. Let's sit down. I'll help you, map this out.
So I would almost say, if I look, there's probably 3 things that have gotten in my way. The first, my ego wants to be right. To your point, my belief, right? I want to be right that I'll never make it. I want to be right that you'll judge me. I want to be right that I just can't have what I want, right? Like I want to be right about whatever I believe. Because we like to be right. Nobody likes to be wrong. That was it for me. I think number 2 is then, as once I ask you the question and you give me the answer, then I'm responsible, right? If you believe in this whole mentality of know better, do better, right? Like I'm accountable for what I know, not what I think I know.
Yeah.
Then there's a responsibility factor, which means I got to level up my game. Now I need to talk to you more kindly because I know how. Now I need to learn how to manage my money because I know how. Now I need to learn how to build a business because I got all the tools, right?
Yeah.
So it's a responsibility thing. And then the third is I have to get outside my comfort zone, right? So at the gym, even though I know how to kick my own butt in cardio, like kick my butt like nobody else's business, and I believe I can kind of keep up cardio-wise with you, that's still my zone of comfort.
No, you can't. Not even close.
That's still my zone of comfort. So if I change lanes and I start doing weights, right, I'm now uncomfortable. Yeah. I'm outside of my zone of safety, security, stability, and I am uncomfortable in what I'm doing. Those 3 things every time.
And how often do we as people surround ourselves in certain areas that are less than us?
Yeah. To make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not as heavy as them, or I'm not,
Totally.
my relationship is better than their relationship. Yeah. As opposed to saying, like, I want to seek out people that have this amazing marriage and, their kids are really well behaved and they respect each other, they love each other.
Yep. And then I want to be humble enough to say, tell me how you got here.
Yeah.
Tell me how you have these results in your life, right? But it goes back to those 3 points. I got to get out of the whole ego. I need to be right. Because the minute I say to you, tell me what you're doing, because I'm not doing something that's working in my life.
It's amazing the story that we play out in our heads, like you saying that, whether it's me or someone else, and you're saying, well, they're going to think less of me.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
Totally.
Like most people, more people care about themselves than they do you. It's not like I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, guess what? Julia doesn't know to lift a failure.
I'm going to judge her.
Oh my gosh,
crazy.
Like you're stupid. Like how often do we do that? And it's funny that I'm even saying that now, because there's different areas of, my life where I'm like, I shouldn't know it all. If like you'll never know it all.
Totally.
But there's a shift when we come out of school, because the whole point of going to school is to learn something.
Yeah.
So you go sit in a classroom and a teacher teaches you a topic. Do they expect you to know the topic? No, of course not. So you go sit there and you learn, and then you go to college and you pay way too much for someone to teach you more.
Yep.
And then you get out of college and you
are supposed to know it all.
Yeah, you believe for some reason that you should know everything.
Yep.
About finances and relationships and raising kids, as opposed to saying no, like you're just like at the beginning of the journey of knowledge and applied knowledge, not just like gathering information and And so there's a lot of smart people, very, very smart people out there that are broke. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that are overweight.
Yeah, totally.
So knowledge is not power.
No, it's applied.
It's applied knowledge and practice and understanding. Just because you didn't try it, you tried it once. Like working out, like how you're working out and the food and when you eat and all that. You may try something and it may not work.
Totally. But it doesn't mean it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It just maybe doesn't work for you because of your body type. Or finances. Let's, flipping a house. You flip one house and you do something wrong and you're like, well, this doesn't work.
Totally.
It doesn't work this way. As opposed to saying, here's how I want to do it. Who's doing it this way? And calling and emailing and being in front of them and say like, I love what you're doing. I love the fruit in your life. Can you please help me?
Totally.
Because I don't know what I don't know.
Totally. And I think that it's almost like, okay, then how do you, do you believe that a growth mentality is innately in someone or someone creates that within themselves, right? Because it's even like that documentary that we just watched with the Iron Cowboy, right? Where he did 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days, y'all. It's like amazing. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But one of the things that he said is that this was after he had done like 20 Ironmans in a year and then 30 or whatever. He said that he finished and was like, why do I still feel unfulfilled, right? Because he's about growth. And he said he knew that he hadn't reached his own full potential. Right? And so I think that takes a little bit of time to know that about yourself, right? That's a level of awareness that I think takes some time to recognize that. And I think the minute he said that, I was like, like everything in me was like, I felt that way, and not because his results aren't amazing. Like how many people could run 30 triathlons in their whole entire lifetime, let alone a year? So he wasn't looking at his results and saying, oh, it just was unfulfilling in general. He just knew that he hadn't found his limits. Right. So is the growth
that was a powerful, like the way he said it in the context was like, whoa, that's so true. And there is sometimes underlying, and I do it, where there's comparison. To make myself feel good for the moment. But if you stay in that place, you block the potential of that you have. Because you can be around someone that's better than you and judge yourself. You can be around someone that's less than you in that whatever context.
And judge them.
And make yourself feel good.
Or judge yourself based upon where you were 10 years ago or the whole thing.
So just being right where you're at and saying, okay, did I show up? Did I do the best that I possibly could with the information that I have? And the answer should be yes. And then you look around for inspiration and for someone that has more fruit in that area of life. And saying, okay, there is more. And then it's up to you to say, can I? Am I at my capacity?
And that's what I want to talk about. So how do you, because I love that he said he knew, he wasn't looking at somebody else. He said, I knew that I hadn't pushed the envelope of what like really, like I hadn't found my edge, okay? So to the point of, okay, you got to know better, do better until you know better, right? Which there has to be this growth mentality around there is more. Like there is more that I could know. There is a better version of me all times, not in comparison, not because of what the world is doing, but because I know innately that there's something more in me to give, more to love, more to do, more to be, all the things. So is a growth mentality in everybody or in few, or is it developed, or like how do you even get to that first hump? Because it's this acknowledgement that there is more. Do better until you know that there could be more, and then when you know what the more is, do it. So like that first hump, how do you instill and develop a growth mindset?
Well, I think you've got to want it. Like you've got to want more innately. I mean, and
is that innately in people?
I think it can be. I think a lot of, and we've done this in our life where we've settled for a season. Where you get comfortable and complacent and it's good enough. As opposed to saying like, No, I want more because I know I can do more.
Yeah.
And David Goggins talks about it where you got 40% more. You know, some of the things, if you haven't read his book or watched some of his stuff, He's awesome. He's a beast. I love it. And his mindset, I mean, you know, callous your mind, and he's very intense. And I love that about him. He's not for everybody. Yeah. He's very truthful. Yeah. He talks about that though, where it's like you have that 40% more. Yeah. You've got to want to test that for yourself though. Yeah. I can't come and say, you can do more, even though I know you could do more. Yeah. You've got to want to do more and believe that you can do more. And then what is it that if you do more? Yeah. And so let's just make sure that we make this clear for anyone that's going to be listening, because I was even talking with a girlfriend the other day who went through our 6-week course. And she said, Julia, I didn't know that more was available to me. So I want to talk to those people for just a second, right? She's like, I didn't know. And part of it, I think, was a protective mechanism, right? And part of it was like, you just do what you've always done. She's lived in the same city her whole life. She's worked at the same job for the last decade, like all of those things, right? Yeah. And so I want to give people the opportunity to look up for a minute and go, there's so much more. Right? Like the person sitting there going like, I don't know what's possible, right? Like, cause it's really easy to get to that black hole, right? Of like, this is just my life. This is just the way that it is. This is the way that it's always been. Like, I want to speak to those people for a second, because I think that it's important to know that growth is a choice and it is a mindset, and it is like taking that excuse off the table so you can see that like it's limitless. And do you think it was that she didn't know because she ended up in the 6-week course? So she knew, she just didn't know the right questions and the community to support her and challenge her. So she knew that there was more, because she wouldn't have like found us or been, you know, could have been 4 or 5 other, you know, YouTube or podcasts or whatever. So she was already like, okay, there's something stirring in me. Yeah. And then it's, okay, there is more, and then you take that first step. So she was willing. I think what for her is that, and for most people, pain and pleasure are the 2 greatest motivators. For most, it's pain. She hit rock bottom, and it forced her to have to look up, right? Like when you're at the bottom, you either go straight down or you look up and go, like, I need oxygen, right? Mm-hmm. And when you look up and you're able to go, to your point, somebody else is living their best life, why not me? Somebody else is making, for instance, $1 million doing what they love. Somebody else is traveling the country in an RV. Somebody else has run the 4-minute mile. Somebody else has lost 100 pounds, right? Like even just starting there, right? Like it's possible. Like we've put our feet on the moon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like just reminding to look up and Google. The news is so saturated and horrible, like all the bad things that are happening and doom and gloom. And the Bergens are coming.
Bergens are coming, and then social media is all about look at me and everything that I'm doing. But what if you just Googled like coolest things that people have done in their life? Right? Or watch documentaries of things that looked impossible to some, but became possible. Yeah. I think we've talked about it though a little bit too. Like if you don't take the time and the space to hear your own inner voice, you can get overwhelmed with everybody else. Yeah. Because there's so much out there like we've been talking about. So to me, it's the first step of taking the time. Yeah. Miracle Morning. Yeah. If you haven't read that book, read that book. It just gives you perspective. Like take the time, set your intention for the day, practice new habits. You may not follow everything in it, but he's created an awesome community and people that are like pinging each other, and it's just practicing new habits, but it's allowing yourself space. Yeah. And to set your intention for the day and doing something different that day than you've done the previous day. And here's what I would say in that mindset space, because, and I talk about this in the book, because that is a really, space by yourself is really scary for most people, right? Because it's quiet. Yeah. It's so easy to busy yourself. We're used to busy, we're used to the mind chatter, we're used to comparison, we're used to things. So when you go into this space, the thing I want you to meditate on is that Bible verse that says, anything/everything is possible for the one who believes. That doesn't say some things. That doesn't say just for you because you're born in this state or in this country with these people. That doesn't say because of it. There's no basis around that. It doesn't have to do with color of the skin or your political party. It says anything and everything is possible for the person who believes, because when you believe and you don't doubt, it's doubt that's like this indecisive, like, do I believe? Do I not believe? Well, look what they have. Well, see, I can never do it. Now I'm in fear mode. Now I'm in worry. Now I'm done.
Yeah.
But if you can go into this space and go, I'm going to hang my hat in my life on a principle that says anything is possible for the person who believes. Even if you're not a believer, you're like, that's really true. The person who said that it was impossible to run the 4-minute mile. Well, that's
it was until someone did it, and then a bunch of people have done it after that.
Iron Cowboy, right? Even his trainer was like, bro, this is impossible, but I'll train you, sure, but I think it's impossible. Iron Cowboy said, no, it's possible.
Or I'm going to try.
No, it wasn't I'm going to try.
Well, yeah, I think at one point, one of his sponsors he was talking about, and he was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to just try. I'm not just showing up to see if I can do it.
Because then I won't.
I will do it.
Yes. And that's the difference. I'm not going to show up and try. Like, I love when people are like, okay, I'll try that advice. And you're like, you're going to try it until it gets hard. This is the lift till failure concept. So let's use this real time. I love the idea of lifting till failure until I have to, right? Because we could talk about this and go, yes, I'm going to do that. And then the minute that you start doing push-ups and you look up and you go, I can't do another one. And someone looks at you and goes, do one more. Mm-hmm. In any area of your life, right? Like picking up that phone and making that call, right? Or having that hard conversation, or those moments of hard. It's like, this is the moment right here that the Gentrys were talking about.
Where growth happens.
Where growth happens, because if I don't lift till failure, I don't stretch the muscle, right? I don't stress the muscle enough. So which means it's not going to break itself down to build itself back up again to be stronger.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, I can't just say I'm going to try to do that, because the minute it gets hard, because it will, it's supposed to get hard. Like the push-up's supposed to be hard because it's breaking down your tissue to get them stronger again. If I'm just going to try, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
As opposed to him, where he was like, no, we are going to do this. I am going to do this.
Yeah.
And then he rallied a whole team around him that on the days that he was literally passing out, he
fell asleep on his bike.
He fell asleep on his bike.
He fell asleep on his bike, riding his bike, and crashed.
And his team got him up and got him back on the bike. He had people around him that didn't go, hey, buddy, you might die.
Good try.
Like you might die.
Well, they did. There's a few doctors and
there was, but his core
him.
team were like, we got to do this.
Yeah. There again, it comes back to, you have to have a community that supports you and challenges you. Like there's so many of our friends where so often you seek to find what you want. Yeah. So you can go and have a good conversation with someone, they challenge you, and then you go have another conversation with a couple other people that are against that, and you're like, yeah,
that makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
that
you're gonna run how far?
Flipping houses is impossible.
Yeah, you're going to lose how much weight? No, that's so hard.
Yeah, you're going to make how much money doing? Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't do that. You're going to quit your job?
Yeah, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And
yeah, you're right. Yep. So it's
that, so that verse. So let's walk through this process. So the first step has to be, you got to create some space, and we're saying this in our own areas of life too, right? You have to create some space to quiet all the chatter that's going on around you, so you can hear what's going on within you. The big mantra, Bible verse, challenge thing you would need to slap up on the wall when you go, well, what's possible? Anything, everything, to the one who believes. You have to believe it. Like, you have to go, growth is possible. This is possible for me. And even in my, the Bible even says faith of a mustard seed, smallest seed on the planet. So we're not talking like gigantic amounts of faith.
Yeah.
Enough to go, okay. Right? Because then I have to now take the step to go, okay, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And then once I know how to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And that's why we're sitting in the gym. It's the same concept of like, if you don't work out and then you go to the gym and you're like, I want to do 50 pound, 75 pound curls, you don't start there.
Totally.
You start with 15 or 20 or 25 and you work your way up. But we don't value the same as your mind and your
Yes.
body and your spirit.
Yeah.
Of knowing I have to work that just as much as physically.
Totally.
Like
Okay,
there's
so let's
always
go
a
there.
battle in your mind.
Yes.
There's always like, call it evil me. Evil me wakes up before me every single day and tells me all the things that I can't do.
Oh man.
So if you don't have the right community, the right people,
Yep.
the belief,
Yep.
the understanding that, okay, I just need to take one step today.
Yep.
And then understand sometimes you're going to take a couple steps and you're going to stay there. You have to acclimate. You have to like, okay, like I'm a little, I need a
pushing my
break.
envelope.
I'm getting a little maxed out.
Yes.
Just like working out. You can't work out every single day and get
Yes.
the results. You have to take a break.
Yep.
You have to rebuild. Same thing with your mind, mentally too. As you start on this journey, or as you start to gain new information and you take some steps, have grace on yourself too. Of like, okay, I just need some space. I need a day or two, and then I'm going to start moving
And I think
forward.
that that's important. So knowing that we have limits, right, and that there is a time, just like working out, that you've got to take a day to rest. But just like that, right, if I remember the time that I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and it kicked my butt. Do you remember? I was out for like a week and a half. I mean, out. And I remember when I finally got back into the gym a couple weeks later, it felt like you might as well have started all the way over again. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like that concept of you don't want to rest so long, right? Like rest, let your body rest, let it recover, do what it needs to do. But you've got to know that there is a window that if you don't get back at it again, get back out trying, get back out failing, get back out asking questions, finding the mentor, like whatever that area is, having that conversation with your spouse or your friend, like if you don't get back in the game, you all of a sudden, like you might as well start back over. So there's like this window of rest, but not so long that I just stop.
Yeah.
There's like this
100.
beautiful dance with yourself, and everybody's different, but you have to know those edges of don't burn out, right? We want this to last, but then don't stay out of the game so long that you lose that momentum.
Yeah, it's kind of, like the concept of, put your hands to work for 6 days and take a day of rest.
Oh, who said that?
Well,
But here's what we do. We either go to the zone of, and I'm guilty of this, playing God, right? I'm going to work for 7 days. I'm going to grind it out. I'm going to grind it out. There's so many grinders, right? I follow a lot that are all about this grinding. And if I'm not careful, that would be me. I would push so hard and that there is a God and maybe it's me. As opposed to there is a God and I am not him. Do 6 days, Julia, but you don't have to do 17. There's not even 17 days in a week. So why in the world, if God himself rested?
Yeah. And it's also their capacity too. Like some of the people, and I love the content that they put out there, they grind it. That's their makeup.
Yeah.
Like they may not even be doing.
Well, yes, and I mean, we could go probably too far in that. I also think that there is that but God, right? There's a willpower zone, and there is like, I'm going to show up and do my part, but I also really believe in a God who's going to do his part, which is like beyond willpower.
Yeah,
it's to the point of being able to rest.
Totally. But a lot of those people that grind it out also have a massive team.
Yes.
That are helping them.
Yep.
And they've been practicing that muscle for a long time.
Yep.
So you can't compare yourself to someone that, whether it's content or whatever, that they're putting out like massive amounts.
Right.
Like you have to work your way into it.
I mean the actual message of grind it out.
Oh, just grind.
Yeah, like the messaging of grinding it, where it could be thwarted to people of like, you're pushing so hard. And this is a lot of the people that I've worked with in these last 6 years that are making a ton of money and they are grinding it out and they're exhausted, right? Like they know it's not sustainable. It's the concept of I'm working out every day, trying to get there, even though I don't know where there is, making more money, having more stuff, push, and I'm exhausted. Right? So there's that. But what we're talking about is a little bit of going, how do you ensure that you're actually still resting and not just in willpower grind it zone, but then also knowing that, but don't stop for too long.
Well, I think, yeah. And you can grind in the context of like, you can keep your head down and grind to then wake up in a year or 2 or 3 years later and realize you're on the wrong mountain. Like you climbed the wrong hill.
So if I'm someone listening
You
right
know
now,
what I'm saying? Like, we're kind of jumping all over the place, and I love it, but it's like...
They're like, wait, break this down, break that down. Wait, what did you just say? Wait, how? But all of it.
Because sometimes, it's understanding
like,
when to push, when to grind, but make sure you're grinding in the right way. When to rest. And I think it's different for everybody, seasons of life.
And here's my hope in this is that all of this, it's going to land. You know what I'm saying? Like, when a truth bomb comes and you're listening to something that just sounds good, you're like, yeah, I like this, or I jive with it. And then all of a sudden someone says something and you're like, I've been avoiding that, right? Like someone listening is going to go, I know that need to be doing my morning quiet time and I'm not doing it. That's it, right? Another's going to go, I'm in willpower zone and I'm exhausted and I'm not resting. Yeah. There it is, right? Another's going to say, the lift to failure. I don't want to be uncomfortable. That's exactly what you're talking, right? Like, so my hope is that all of these overarching principles, that there is the one that lands for you. Here's the hope, the whole goal of this today. When you know better, do better. And so when one of these things lands for you, that you write it down and then move. Right? Write it down, whatever the one is, and then move forward on that one thing, because that's the whole concept of what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Just do one thing
one of them
a day that's different than you did the day before.
Yep.
And if 365 days later, you just practiced 365 new habits or patterns or, trials and it's not going to be like you try this and you get the results. So you may have to try a few different things and figure out what works for you. Yep. But if you look at that in one area of your life and you try one new thing with your spouse of how you interact or what you say or how you say it, and you tried one little thing for the whole year, like you just practiced 365 different ways to show up with your spouse. Yes. And I'm guarantee you probably found a dozen of them that you were like, that's amazing.
And then you double down on those, until you got to refresh it again. Yeah. Right. Like that's the compound.
Or compound on those 12.
Agreed.
Not try to do all of them. It's like, okay, these really work.
Yep.
The results that I'm getting, the response that I'm getting, our relationship is getting better.
Yep.
So I'm going to keep doing those.
Yep.
And I'm going to get rid of a few things that aren't serving me.
Yes. Agreed.
So it's just try one thing. If there's one awareness or one thing that you've been wanting to seek out or understand.
Yeah.
And I would also say, as you start on this journey, if there is something that you want to learn and do, surround yourself with someone that has the fruit in their life.
Yeah.
Get a mentor, get a community that supports you and challenges you to step up to the plate and not just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to call someone and be like, oh, I'm going to take, I worked 2 days on this thing.
Yep.
I'm going to take a day off. And if you're around and in the wrong community, they're going to support you instead of someone that says, nope.
No, get up again.
Yeah. Do it again and again and again.
Totally.
And you'll start to appreciate it.
Yeah. For sure. And this is something that we're even impressing upon our kids who are 3 and almost 5 and 6, right? Which is today, I even had to correct them on a few things. And the last thing I turned around and I said to all of them is I said, when you know better, and they all 3 looked at me and they said, do better, right? Like this is something that my hope is that it evokes such a heightened level of ability. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I just think that right now, even as a country and as a world, there's so much division and there is so many different agendas and there's a lot of fear at a bigger level, right? Of who's going to drive this country and where our world is going to go. But if each one of us, right, can become more aware and take more responsibility about being the best version of us, you know what I'm saying? Like
about you, yeah.
Of me, right? Yeah, me. Then I know this sounds so silly, but like be the change that you want to see in the world. It's like we're gonna have to start, right? We can't wait for the top to move its way down. It's like I have to be able to go, I need to know more. So when I know more, I can do more. Like that's where we're gonna see change.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna see change.
I agree.
So there you have it. We encourage you with this idea today that to develop a growth mindset, right? And then to be able to, once you know that the possibilities are there, that there is more out there, because there always is, right? When you start to grab onto this whole idea that anything is possible, that then you move into the zone of like knowing more, And then once you know more, do more. Once you know better, do better.
Absolutely. So we appreciate you joining us, and I would say we're super, super excited. We've got some big news. We'll do it on our next podcast.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on that, and we'll probably do a whole podcast about it.
Totally.
And we've got the YouTube channel launching, and we're going to start putting out a lot more content as we go into this new adventure of our life.
Yep.
But yeah, check out our website, check out the videos on YouTube, get some ideas, and just go after it.
Yeah.
Be the best that you can be today.
We'll see you next time.
On behalf of both of us, thank you for listening to another episode of Dream On. Don't forget to visit our website, The Dream Factory & Co., for all the show notes and other tools and resources to get you unstuck, clear, and helping you reprogram your thoughts and beliefs so that you can live out your dreams with a community that supports and challenges you. Until next time, dream on.